Hey, Mark Rosenberger here, and if you want to, for one thing, source ingredients, that's fairly important to the making of a beverage, right? And you want to do it with less headache and hassle. You're going to love today's conversation because I love the team at BevSource because we get calls, do you do ingredients, stuff like that? I go, no, these are the people you got to call. So for me to be able to sit down and hang out with Dan Macri, VP of Sales and Marketing for BevSource, located in, well, he's in Rochester, Minnesota. They're all over the place, based out of Minneapolis. Really fun for me to hang out with you today, Dan. So thanks for joining me.
You as well.
Yeah, good. So one of the things, we've got probably some newbies here, some folks who are, various stages of kind of getting their product from a good idea, sitting at the coffee table and have it on a napkin to, now how do we do this? Give us kind of the 30-foot overview of the stuff that BevSource can do to kind of help these, I call them beveragepreneurs, get things moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've been at, that's what we built our business on. BevSource cut its teeth on the entrepreneurial brand. We've been at this for 20 years ish. We're 2002 founded. We're kind of working in year 19, pushing that 20-year anniversary. But essentially the way we designed this business was to be able to support, those brands that had a lot of questions of, here's where I'm at, how I get this concept out of my mind and into, a commercialized state. Can you help me grow and scale along the way? If you look at it very top level, the crux of our business is we make these beverage dreams a reality, by offering our, supply chain and operations and production-based services, to the brands. We have three different ways that we can work that business through. So we do have BevSource, which operates out of St. Paul, Minneapolis, Twin Cities area. And then the lab, which is also our piloting and quality facility that we built as well. And then we also have a group called My Drink Beverage and Drinkpreneur, believe it or not. So it kind of does the whole beveragepreneur. We have a Drinkpreneur organization that we own as well, which we can get into a little bit further on. But essentially what we do is all things that are kind of the working components. If we can free the brand owners up to focus on driving that brand of, getting the adoption rates and getting new activations in retail chains and being really effective at managing kind of the growth in the sales aspect of it by offering our solutions and using our tribal knowledge and so on and so forth, which we can delve in a little bit later. That's where we feel the brands will be most successful. So it's all these services coming together to build, kind of this toolbox for the brand owner per se. Here's how we can get you from point A to point B, no matter which stage of the game you're in.
Yeah, I love that. So literally, as a guy who if I'm a beveragepreneur and I'm trying to figure out one call, and you guys can help solve a whole lot of solutions, and we like to say make canning easy, make the process easy from that point of view. Perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's just take me through. Let's say let's dive a little deeper and unpack a little bit of that. I'm new. My big panic right now is I've got formulation is done or getting close to done. I know I need to start sourcing ingredients. Walk me through that process. Educate me on I make a call. What happens?
Yep. So typically if a brand comes to us with formulation, and again, this is something that we do as well. So we can get involved as early stages.
Okay.
Is the concept feasible? But we have, our R&D team as well. We have our vendor partners that we work with, depending on what the brand, the category, the liquid stream may be. But typically, if someone's coming to us with formulation, they said, we've done this. We have the concept, we have the formula. First, we'll go through a review to make sure it's, truly a commercial formula. We'll give it a once over to see if we find any sort of areas of concern, anomalies, area to capitalize on. Maybe we look at the formula and say, is there a way to streamline some costing or get some purchasing efficiency in there? So we'll give it a once over, and we'll talk a little bit with the brand about what their total strategy is. Are you looking to exit the brand in 5 or 10 years? Are you looking to pass this down in generations? Is it a regional brand or a national brand, or are you going to take this globally? So we'll look at it from more of a macro perspective at that point, and then understand where can we add value, if we can add value, and how we should engage one another and work together. So we'll understand from the early formulation of this looks great on paper. This is kind of the blueprint for the beverage. But when this was formulated, was contract manufacturing taken into consideration? Do you understand what the landscape looks like? Will a co-packer be able to take this formula and can they adopt that into their production facility, or will there need to be some sort of a subtle change or maybe a major change depending on formulations? But from there, we can also identify these are materials we provide. So yes, your flavor costings or your ingredient costing looks great in these areas, but we have buying power or we have contracts in these particular ingredients or supply. So we'll be able to look at some cost saving initiatives there. And then from there, fold them into, do you need operation services and production services? And how can we help you get this product from, now you've had the concept, you have an actual formula, how do we actually get this in production so you can, touch, taste, hold, and sell that product, right?
Yeah. So I could literally send somebody to you who was pre-formulation. You could help them out and then walk them through and ask some of those big questions. So one example would be where maybe you help people ferret things out is the whole question of tunnel pasteurization or whatever, depending on the formula, it has to go one way. Depending on the formula, it could go another way. Mm-hmm. You guys would be able to offer some, all right, well, you don't want to tunnel pasteurize. Here's your options. Mm-hmm. How might that look? How do you play with some of that?
I think that's one of the pinch points too, where sometimes brand owners will go down a path of let's create logo first and all these things and let's understand the brand, or let's pick packaging because we want to be in a can or we want to be in a a Tetra Pak. And have they really thought through the rest of the supply chain? So what does stability look like? What does shelf life look like? What does contract manufacturing look like? So yeah, we can go back and take a look and say, here's where I'm at formula wise. You're discussing tunnel pasteurization. Have you been through what the impacts may be on that formula? You may have to, overdose certain ingredients because you're going to get some sort of a burn off through the tunnel pasteurization process. Or, have you gone through a pilot run to simulate that, to see truly what the tastes look like of that product? That's why we built our lab. Our lab was, let's mimic these commercial environments to be able to say, this is what it's going to taste like when you actually go to a commercial production. And we've worked on any kinks with that formulation in a piloting stage, not an actual initial launch stage. So it's not the co-packer figuring this out with the brand owner. It's been done through this, initial step of validation to remove some of those potential unknowns. But yeah, it's guiding them on what alternative preservation methods could be, because, Mark, as you know, what's happening right now in this market where capacity today is gone tomorrow. So you may need to look, say, I can't find a co-packer that can run this package size, this, SKU mix, this batch size, and in this frequency. So do I need to pivot towards a different preservation method? Or maybe they open up a retail outlet or a chain that says, that's great, but we don't allow chemical preservation in our facility, or look at something more natural. Or so we're able to help, again, give that holistic view of what the entire beverage production plan looks like versus we're here for this one segment. Even if we've done it or not, like, we're more than happy to guide and consult. We have had people come to us in the past that have formulated, have gone to production, but then experienced production issues. And it's like, well, this was done right, and this was what we were told was right, but now we're in production and these things are occurring. So we've also been able to help, pull things back in order and get them back on a production path that's successful.
Yeah. So let me just talk to somebody watching this for a second. So if you just heard this is a good place to do the experimentation first before you get to us. Do it with these guys. Yeah. All right, good. Yes, I'm gray. I'm only 29 years old because of those exact thing, and trying to figure out on the, or funny story. I had a guy, oh, can you do it this way? Because my designer wanted the logo to look this way. And I was like, whoa. You need, no, you're getting that. No, this, stop. So, all right. So I love that. And if folks aren't taking advantage of that on the front end, it's going to cause them a lot of headache, hassle, and drama on the back end. A great example is a client trying to get stuff into Whole Foods, and with their preservative standards and stuff. Well, had they had that conversation, we want to get into Whole Foods had the conversation on the front end. Well, they don't like a lot of funny stuff. It would have saved them, yeah, a whole lot of headache and hassle. So
Yep.
perfect. So what are some common questions that a new person coming to you guys brings to the party?
First is, can you help me? Can you help me get this done? There's been times where a lot of them have tried, they run at this on their own, and we applaud them for that. I mean, I love the, the self-starter mentality in a lot of these, in a lot of these customers that we work with. And again, we have customers big and small. We're working with global brands. We're working with national brands. We're working with somebody who hasn't produced their first case of product, yet at this point. But typically what they come to us is, here's what we're good at. Can you help us in these particular areas? We were referred to you, or we found you, whatever, through whatever channel they found us through. But typically it's, can you help us? Where do you feel you can add value? What service can you take or alleviate from us? How does the relationship work with one another? Like, we still retain the decision-making process of the brand? Absolutely. We like to see ourselves more as the extension of the person's team. Like, instead of you going out and hiring a VP of operations, or and most entrepreneurs, small groups, the owners are wearing multiple hats. So you can get a group coming in to help you that has years of experience, just accumulated and have been through the majority of the things you'll probably end up going through at some point in production, because it never goes as expected. But how do we mitigate those? Mitigate those situations. But typically we add, where can you help? How can you help? How can we work together? What do you think of the product concept, or the category we're getting into? That's generally where the first components come from. And also, how fast can we do this? By the way, we need to make the summer launch. We need to, this just changed from last week. The fire is on. Can or we're in dire needs because like our co-packer, can't run us anymore. We outgrew them, or we changed package, and so they're in some sort of a state of flux. Right. And we need to be able to help adapt with them and move them forward. So that's what they're looking for, is guidance and direction and support.
Yeah. Let's dig deeper a little bit on that timeline expectation, because that's one that I think is, and then with COVID, it's all over the board lately too. So if I come to you with formulation, that could take from how long to how long, what's kind of average, if I have to kind of set a mindset for that?
Depending on complexity of the beverages, typically a formulation process is anywhere from, I'd say, probably 8 to 12-ish weeks. You're getting a few rounds of, getting product formulated and getting a few rounds of samples going. So you got a couple iterations on it. We've seen them go faster. We've seen some get elongated. And again, you put COVID impacts in there as well, where, right. A flavor house lab is delayed because of restrictions on people. But I mean, we've had projects in the past of customers that come to us where it's a year formulation. They take ultra amount of time and form, because I mean, it's got to taste good. It's got to deliver on what you're saying. So there's groups that go quite a amount slower. And I remember sitting in a few events, whether it was trade shows or networking events, where you've got a lot of major successful brands that have said it took us a year and a half to develop this product, or 2 years to develop this product. And some of the reasons that's why they're successful as they are. I would say don't rush that process. At the end of the day, that is that's the brainchild. That's what's going to separate you or make your product what is. We keep using that word as the blueprint for the brand, as far as the beverage itself. But I would say, 8 to 12 factor for all day long on a few months to do this. But don't push it. Plan accordingly. Give yourself time in the process.
It sounds like we say, expect the best, plan for the worst. Don't book line time until you got that piece of the puzzle solved. Because we have people book line time with us, and then you want it right. It's got to be right. Don't mess with that. That's great. So, okay, we get formulation done. I come to you from an ingredient point of view. Hey, can you guys help me? What's an average window for pulling that stuff together?
So typically after formulation, where we can go into is, we're thinking of during the formulation process, we go through, kind of a brief on it, is where are you looking to distribute? we're starting to think about the contract manufacturing network. We're starting to think about the raw materials involved in the formulation and sourcing and securing those. So is it something that we would provide with our vendor network and of raw material supplies? It's something we're going to be collaborating with maybe some groups that the brand owners identified off the bat. We can do all that. But typically what we like to do after formulation is have an understanding of the contract manufacturing needs during that time. But then we're starting to build out. Now we have the formula and we have an understanding of the distribution plan. We can start looking at the production plan. So it's the co-packer ID or the co-manufacturer identification, who's the right fit. And we're taking a lot of different things into consideration there.
Right.
You're talking, location, run sizes, capabilities, quality, total cost to serve versus, some people get lost in, the tolling fee is this, but, or loss rates are X, so we're looking at the full picture there as well. But that's where we can start to really build a true cost of goods and cash schedule for the brand. So they can understand, okay, now what does this look like from a capital side to my initial production run and subsequent production runs? What are those one-time fees that are, in the cash schedule that won't be there, in future runs? We can start looking at scaling, what it looks like in, producing 3, 5, 10,000 case production runs per SKU versus going into larger later. We can start to then build out that vision and that plan. And then our development group, who's working all those, pre-production type services, they're collaborating with our procurement group and our compliance and regulatory group as well to say, are the claims we're making and are the materials that we're using, are they standing up in the beverage? Have we found the right suppliers from quality, cost, supply assurances, things along those lines? And there we're rounding out that total production plan. And then we move into going to then it's a review. Are we ready to go to production? Now we're ready I would suggest obviously the pilot run happens somewhere through there as well. And then once we onboard that co-packer or co-packer network is typically where switch gets turned on, materials are all getting put into motion. Our team's managing all of that as well. And then it's all systems go at that point. And then we have what we call post-production services, which you can get into as well a little bit later on. We don't stop when the cases are made. We can help them take it further. So
yeah, nice. So timeline from I love the kind of, if you don't have a plan and you're not thinking this through, there's a lot of things that can bite you on this whole game plan. So I get done with formulation, I'm ready to start getting ingredients, and you've gone through that. Is that a 2-week process, 2-month process, 4-month process on average? I know it's all different, but
yeah, I would say if we started from, I'll maybe do like the normal times, quote,
whatever that is. Yeah.
Depending on the package you're in, because we know that certain materials will carry different lead times. Like cans obviously have a longer lead time now than probably in the past year, but start to finish for a beverage brand can be anywhere from, a 6 to 9 month total timeline. Getting through formulation and getting through the building of the co-packer ID. We'll spend, again, it's back to the old adage of like an ounce of preparation, right? So let's spend a little bit more time exploring the contract manufacturing landscape. Let's spend a little bit more time on the raw materials. Let's make sure that we really have a solid plan going into this. So I would say if I was today's entrepreneur, I'd budget for at least a 9-month turnaround, from getting that concept out of mind and into a formulation and into a production plan. And then from there, you got to whatever the production schedule will be with the co-pack, the co-manufacturer solution. But on average, I'd say that's it. And that can get, again, like you said, plan for the worst, hope for the best. Those timelines are always changing. I mean, I lived through, which obviously you as well. Everybody's off to the races in an alcoholic beverage, and all of a sudden you're submitting your label for approval or licensing, and the government shuts down.
Right. So, yeah, exactly.
What do you do then, right?
or getting cans last year,
getting cans.
or getting ingredients or transportation costs going up. Well,
yeah.
So I think one of the challenges, and why I appreciate you giving us some insights there, is a lot, especially the newbies, really don't have a realistic comprehension of how long it's going to take to get that ball across the goal line there. So that's very, very helpful there. Other questions that that you seem to get on a regular basis from newbies or beveragepreneurs that kind of jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean, again, I say I love the spirit. I mean, most beverage entrepreneurs or newbies to the business, and even some of the major players. I mean, like everything changes daily. Like all it takes is, I mean, the concept is exciting. This is their baby. This is their focus.
Right.
They want to run really, really fast, and they want. I mean, whether they're trying to beat the potential competitor to the market, they're trying to get in the door first. But a lot of things change sometimes. With they could get a retailer call the next day, and all of a sudden it's like, we like your product. We want it here in 3 months or the next reset. So a lot of the newbies, they come in a little hot with, the needs. And I think the most important thing is to align and say, we're here to help. We're here to navigate this together. Let's set expectations and really make sure that we're putting a plan together for success, not a fast to the finish line. And then we realize all the mistakes that occurred along the way. But I think it's making sure they look at this holistically. It isn't just about cost. A lot of times, and it's this co-packer versus that co-packer, what's included in a toll fee versus what's not included in a toll fee. Where should I strategically have my contract manufacturing? Should I be using distribution centers? A lot of times it's getting the newbies to understand, like, it's a very complex process.
Right.
What we do is not sexy by far. I wish I could sit back and say, hey, we're the group that does all the creative, and we make the logo and we talk about what this looks like, and it's the hard work. We definitely are in the trenches, and it's managing expectations there, where if newbies understood, like, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of areas that can fail, and the more focused we are on the early onset setup of this product, the better position we are for success later on.
Yeah. So, oh God, yes. Say it, preach it, talk to me. So we got into the co-packing business out of necessity, trying to bring we have some coffee shops and a roaster in Georgia, and wanted to bring a nitro canned coffee to market. And our co-packing experience was so horrendous that we thought, hell, let's get into the co-packing businesses a couple of years ago. And one of the things, and I'm sure this is true when people come to you, there's questions we knew to ask. Mm-hmm. And then we learned quite expensively, money-wise and time-wise, there's questions we should have asked. I can go to a bunch of places to get ingredients, let's say, or to get formulation. And just kind of like the can toll conversation you're talking about, somebody goes, wow, their can toll is, 4 cents. Well, it costs a whole lot more to get a product out the door, right? Are they putting a lid on it? Yeah. What should be some questions I should be asking as a, potential partner with you guys that maybe the competition isn't quite, they should be asking these questions? You got a couple of those?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the material side, the raw material side, it's, obviously cost is big, but who's what the manufacturing background, like the quality of the product, the ease of sourcing it. I mean, a lot of times in formulation, it's nice to, in today's world of innovation, is how do I differentiate? That could very equally translate into, here's this ingredient that's indigenous to this region only one time a year. And it's like, that changes the production plan, right?
Great one. Yeah.
Like, are the materials I'm using commercially viable? Can I get this product packed at a co-packer, whether it's one or a network of those? What is the supply assurance? Am I going down the path of the right package that's going to help this, withstand the test of time? Are there any, foreseeable issues in the future? I think that's where brands look, maybe should spend some more time, I think, looking into and having those conversations. And it's, if you're going to differentiate and not be the Me Too brand, just make sure that when you're doing that, you've taken the proper steps, and we can ask some questions about, how does this look commercially? Because as we all know, I mean, we've all had ingenious ideas in our life, whether it's in beverages or not. Once you start to put those in action, you start to realize, either how poorly or how well you thought those through. And I think it's ask questions. I mean, that's what people are here for. I mean, it's, to me, it's no different than, when a plumber comes to the house or the HVAC tech. It's like, you're dying to learn to understand what's going on and how that works. So I think having that partnership and that communication is critical. So I would say, take that knowledge, ask the questions, be willing to say you don't know something. Like if you're a brand owner, it doesn't, there's no shame in saying, I don't know this. That's why I'm talking to a professional. Like,
Yeah.
I don't diagnose, I go to a doctor, right? And
Right.
we all self-diagnose sometimes, but you go to a doctor and that's where you get the real answer, right? But
yeah, exactly.
I would say ask the questions and really think about the viability of the product and how you're designing it and what your plan truly is. And that's the biggest piece of advice I'd give to the newbies.
I think again, I'm talking to, if you're watching this, if you didn't hear all that, replay it again and listen to Dan's coaching on that piece of the puzzle. I mean, it comes out to, one of the reasons we love sending folks to you from our point of view, co-packer, is we get stuff, ingredients, and we know who it's for. We know what it is. We know what PO it goes to, versus literally we've had baggies of white powder show up on our receiving dock. I don't know what it is, and it's not, do I sell it from the back of my car out of an alley, or, and make some extra buck, or, so you guys do it right. So from our vantage point, so it really makes that team effort go seamlessly there. So I love that one.
We take a lot of pride. I think that's an excellent point too. Like our buying group, if we're putting the BevSource name on something, if it's a material we're providing, or even if we're bringing in a vendor from that's one of our customers, vendor network resources, we look back and we're collecting the C of A's, making sure there's the right documentation, because we do not want a product, like I said, we don't want just a generic unmarked bag showing up at the co-packer of, yes, this has the customer's name on it, but what actually is this? And what, has it met the quality standards? Is it packaged appropriately, to be shipped? And we've experienced it all, in the past as well, where you have to be working with reputable suppliers that are following the necessary protocols for certifications and, so on and so forth. Because again, if you're not taking those materials and doing the proper testing and on the inbound side into the co-packer versus monitoring batch sheets and things, you could be in for a world of problems later on. And we all know that what kills brands in this game, and it's a recall, right? And that's where you have to take and do that due diligence up front and mitigate those experiences up front. And it's worth that preparation. It's worth dealing with people that know that, that landscape.
And I'll tell you, receiving ingredients from a lot of different sources for a lot of different folks we can for, not everybody does it the BevSource way. I promise you. The white baggie showing is like, and and the sad part is we have to throw it away. It's like, and your ingredients not here, and so
production's delayed. We're rescheduling.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get to it in another 90 days. So any other costly mistakes, if I'm a newbie, I should I want to minimize or mitigate from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think, outside of, the material supply, I've seen it time and time again where they go from formula right into a massive full scale production. Having a pilot run done at a fraction of a cost is a great safety measure. I think that could avoid some of those longer term, more substantial commercial mistakes. I think also just taking time to digest to something. Like a lot of times they hear something in the market, or they see another brand doing something. So there's emulation that starts to occur, or how do we get our costs down to that brand? And there's a lot of information out there that whether is inaccurate or there's a variance between why this doesn't align with my cost structure, vice versa. I think it's taking the time to really understand, the product categories and materials that are being used. Again, it's learning. It's, people take a lot more time to pick an iPhone cover sometimes versus, it's like, the decision-making process. Like, I don't, what am I going to do? Which one do I pick? But like, if you really think about like this, the importance of some of these decisions, it's take the time and do it right.
I'm giggling because, oh God, you're right. So coach, which brings me to an interesting question is, I ask people, what's your target for, your ingredient percentage cost factor there, your cost of goods for your ingredients. Are you able to coach folks or guide people on how they should be looking at that and how to play with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, again, there's a lot that goes into what in our formulation and development stages we're talking about, like what's your retail price, and we'll start to work backwards, understanding distributor margins and the brand margins and things like that. So yeah, we'll give them some coaching on it. We'll definitely do analytics and say, do you understand that this component is contributing to X percentage of your total cost per case. Also discuss, like, are there ways to maximize purchasing or find purchasing efficiencies so we can still utilize those materials while not letting it impact the cost of goods so much. So yeah, it's definitely coaching we can give there. There's been times we've gone through functional ingredients to say, is this truly adding value to your product, or is this just like, is there another way that we can work with a different material to derive the same function but at a different cost? Because you don't want to compromise the integrity of the brand, but also you want to maximize profits or normalize profits, I guess you could say. Yeah, happy to help there as well.
So again, if you're a newbie, this is you got to know your numbers, and you got to figure out what are the alternatives. Ask them, are there other options? How can we zig? Can we zag? Perfect. So this is perfect. So let's say I want to send somebody, I get them early pre-formulation, or they're somewhere, they've done it with somebody else, but now it's ingredients, or now they want more of the strategy coaching. Who do they get in contact with? Who do I shoot them to? What's the process?
Well, a couple for me. Obviously, we have the website, so www.bevsource.com. When you go to our site, there's a contact page there. There's forms that you can fill out right online. There's a link to info@bevsource.com. They can shoot us an email through there. You'll call the phone number. There's phone numbers on the website as well. So there's those options to connect. Obviously, LinkedIn. We've got LinkedIn presence and social media presence, which they can connect with us there as well. We're in the world of trade shows. We're always at the trade shows. The key ones in our area. But come on through. We'll get them linked up depending on what their needs are. My team will manage. Whether it's the territory, the rep, the division. You can get to our lab's website as well. The labmn.com is the site for our pilot and QA facility. So you can either come through BevSource to get there, or you can go through the LabMN's website. And then My Drink Beverages and Drinkpreneur, which is the two other divisions of our organization. My Drink is the international division. We do a lot of work with the European and APAC regions there. So we are helping more from a global perspective. We can bring brands out of Europe and the European or APAC markets into the US, and vice versa. It's medium for brands that we want to scale globally. And then Drinkpreneur was more of our resource, our newsletter, market information, more of a knowledge base site. And again, you can reach all those through the main BevSource page, because BevSource is the parent company to Drinkpreneur and My Drink Beverages as well. But yeah, it's simple as that. Any way that's easy to contact, Mark, give them my email or phone number. It's easy. It's easy to contact us. We're always willing to talk and find some way to work with the brands.
Yeah. Well, I think if I were a new beveragepreneur and trying to get something, this kind of hanging out with you today has been very helpful. And I will, again, from our perspective at CMC Beverage, our goal is to make this whole process easy. And when you find people who are good at what they do, you want to plug into them and, like Dan said, ask questions, figure it out. So, and the folks at BevSource, high five to them. They've figured out how to make life easy on our end, so it makes life easy on your end as well. So
we all succeed together, right, Mark?
Exactly. It can be an ugly world if we don't. So
for sure.
All right, sure. Yeah, thanks for taking time to chat with us today. Awesome.
My pleasure. Appreciate being on, and always enjoy talking with you.
There, but high five.